What's up guys, and welcome back to Pop Beat Breakdowns. Now I have just made my first Christmas pop beat sale of the year on my Type Beat channel, which means it's getting to that time of the year again where people are starting to make Christmas music, whether it be for a single release or for just other productions for other artists. Well, I thought this video would be a good time to drop because it will help you understand how to build up a Christmas pop type production using kind of that upbeat piano feel. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you smash the subscribe button, as it's the best way to support the channel. And as always, any plugins I use in this video I'm going to leave in the comments section and the description below, so you can check out the plugins for yourself after this video if there's anything you think could help elevate your productions to the next level. But without further ado, let's get into the production. We've got a Christmas beat in front of us that I made today. Let's have a listen to it and break it down. Okay, so with a lot of videos on this channel, the order that the tracks are here is the order that everything was added. This gives you a really good understanding of how to build it from the ground up. This is the thing that a lot of people struggle with. That's why I try to do it in this order to help you guys out in any way I can. So today we actually built it around the drums. I picked a BPM of 145. What I envisioned was the kind of like, I wanted it to be upbeat, so I wanted to try and dictate like sort of feel and the speed of the track. So I just started clicking my fingers and eventually I landed on 145. Felt like the best one, and I just started with a drum beat. I wanted it to be bouncy, have a bit of swing, so I used the Bluebird Plus and I just made a simple drum beat, nothing fancy at all, just standard drum beat. Now in terms of mixing the drums, I have done a little bit to the drums just to add that little bit of extra energy. And we have the CLA Mix Hub. Now this is a Waves audio plugin. I've just started using this recently because I just wanted to try a couple different plugins I haven't used before. And I ended up using the drum bus preset, and we'll have a quick listen to what it's done, but it's done really good favors for the actual drums itself. So this is without, and this is with. It just adds a really nice bit of compression and also a little bit of that bright snap in the high end, which helps the drums really stick through in the mix. So the CLA Mix Hub, big fan of it. I'm definitely going to start using this more. Again, link in the description if you want to check out this plugin for yourself as well. So then we move on to the bass, because I feel like the drums and the bass, they gel really well together. You've got the bass as a really good rhythm section for a production. I wanted the bass to be bouncy today, so we used the warm and clear, the bass preset in Logic, and then literally just for any additional things, I just chucked in the CLA bass, which is part of the CLA range. As you can see, very big fan of that at the moment. Just add a little bit more depth to the bass. And at this point I just picked a key of B major and just played around with the chord progressions in it till I found something that was bouncy. Again, that was the whole point of it. Now we go to the piano. Now the piano was a really fun section to build. When it comes to piano, I always try and separate the tracks into left and right. This can mean you can get a really good stereo image and make it feel like you're doing an A-B recording. So the first piano is this. And then the second piano is doing that classic sound. You wouldn't believe how hard that was to play, so I ended up programming that in actually myself. So anyway, when it comes to the mixing, I like to put a sample delay and vary them up each side. This is how you get that really nice stereo piano sound. Then when it comes to the actual piano itself, we are using the studio piano. I just used it because I don't normally use Logic a lot, so I wanted to try and give it a go. Worked really well. And then for mixing the piano, we've got the CLA 76 piano. Just a little nice compressor just to try and tighten and add a little bit of glue to the piano. Very good compressor. Big fan of it. I like to use it on vocals especially. It's got that really nice like CLA sound to it. And then just with the EQing, we have just a little bit of high boost and a low cut. Clean up that piano a little bit more, and we've got everything we need from the piano from doing that. So when you put it all together so far, just using these three elements that we've added, you've got yourselves a really almost full sounding production already. But there's so much more we can do to it. Now, the next thing I added was some pizzicato strings. Just came to me. This is the Studio Strings by Logic. Again, very simple. we're just following. We've got a low power mode here. I'm just going to adjust that. There we go. So yeah, just very simple, and it just like ties in with the bass, plays off it, as you can hear here. And having them sort of like counter rhythms bouncing off each other really helps with that really nice bouncy feel of the production we've got going on there. Now, I went into Splice and I found some bells, because you can't have a production without some bells. Now, what I've done here is, because I wanted to give it a little bit of a bounce, I've done something very cool here with the bells. So if I just quickly turn this off, you can hear I record the bells like this. And then I've gone and used the H delay, which again is a Waves plugin, and I've gone for a ping pong effect of 1/4, and it's just created this nice little sort of almost tremolo ping pong effect. It just gives the production a little bit more movement and something a little bit more interesting, so it's not just sticking in the center of the mix. And of course we've got a gong in as well, because why not for a Christmas track? Then I wanted to add some acoustic guitar next. I feel like this is something, again, we always think about the rhythm section and what sounds happy, what sounds upbeat. Acoustic guitar, strums especially. We used power chords from the Strummed Acoustic 2. Both of these, really good additions to the section. And it just adds a little bit of a lift to the whole production. Look, if we just play it firstly without the guitar and then with, you'll really hear the difference. Adds that little bit of extra lift, which we really need. And then the last element that we've got added is a string section. Now for the strings, I use Omnisphere, of course. Anyone who watches the channel regularly will know I use Omnisphere practically all the time. Now for the actual string arrangement for the Hollywood strings, I like to split it into 3 sections of this one, because I wanted to be quite simple. So I started with just some sort of little melody. Very simple, just something harmonious, like nothing complex. Then next I added chords to that for a little bit more depth. And lastly, just to cover the low end, I added what would be a cello following the root note, following the bass, for a little bit more of a lower depth. So it's very easy to build the string section, and then again, to make the strings even bigger, I've got sample delays on all of them. Now, for the 2 melodies, the low and the high, they get sample delayed to the same direction because they're grouped together. And then the chords, because there's a lot more grouped together, I have them to the left-hand side, but this practically doubles the size of my string section by doing this. This is why I love using sample delays. It's a really good way to kind of create a spread and a little bit of space in the mix for other stuff to come through, but at the same time, you are making your strings sound even bigger. And then when it comes to mixing, we have got a couple of Abbey Road plugins here added. We've got the vinyl and the saturator. Now, it's hard to describe what they actually do to it, but basically I wanted to try and make them sound a lot more sort of like almost as if it was recorded more from the sort of like the 70s, the 80s, the sort of like old classic Christmas pop production, not sounding too modern strings. So what I did was, if we just play the strings by itself, we'll loop that, and I'm going to turn these both off. So this is what it sounded like before. As you can see, it's not very bright, quite mid-heavy. So the first thing I added was the Abbey Road vinyl, and I chucked it in the AR turntable, the MM cartridge. This first adds a little bit more of that sort of like low-mid saturation to it, and then I added the Abbey Road saturator. Now, check out what this does to the strings. It kind of rolls off the low end a little bit, and it also thins out the strings while adding brightness, which means they really sit in the mix so much easier. They're not too intense on the low end or the mids. They just really sit there and they kind of flutter, almost like a pad, but it makes them just sit so much better in the mix. I went for a mix squeezer. That was the best preset I could actually find, because I do like to go through the presets first before I adjust things, because if it's already there for you, you know, why change it? So the Abbey Road saturator, big fan of this. I've been using this a lot recently, just on a couple of different things. It's really interesting for switching sounds up, but also it really helps these strings sit really nicely in the mix. Now, when it comes to the actual mastering of the track, because loads of you have been wanting to know more about the mastering, we started off with the CLA MixDown just to try and add a little bit more. I like to think gel it all together a bit more, a little bit of glue, so everything kind of just like sits together. This is a really good plugin for just grouping everything, so if everything feels a little bit here and there, mix wise. This just helps. And then that added the C6 next, and I just used my mastering C preset. This is one of my favorite presets. It's one of them things where there's not much logic to it. It just works. It always just makes things sound better, so I always chuck that in. Then we've got my little Abbey Road chain, which I've been doing a lot recently, which works really well. And that's the first preset, was the mix glue and the vintage mastering glue. Now again, I wanted the mix to kind of have a little bit of a polished modern sound, but at the same time, kind of like a reference back to 80s kind of mixes. So this is why I've gone for vintage stuff, using Abbey Road quite a lot. Big fan of this. I just chuck it on at some point in the mastering chain all the time because I feel like it does some good stuff. And then we finished it off in the L316 stereo with the Dave Darlington Beautiful Mastering. Now again, another preset I love. And the combination of all these together, basically I've just found something that works for me. All of these plugins in this order, it just seems to always work. And I want to do a whole other video on this because no matter what mix I chuck in, it always seems to correct stuff and gets things sounding great coming out the other end. So yeah, that's the mastering chain. Nothing fancy, a lot of presets. And I'm open about that because I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate it a lot, especially when it's a beat, because I upload beats every day and the mix doesn't have to be super perfect. So do keep that in mind, but that's just me. Now when it comes to the structure quickly, because I feel like I could touch on that. It's very simple, obviously, because of the 4-chord song. You can see how we've got this all separated out. We've got it into a chorus, a verse, a pre-chorus, verse, pre-chorus, bridge, and then final chorus. But what's really cool is the key change that we've got. Now, key changes are very easy to do. So what I've done here is, if you listen to the first chorus, the key is B major. What I've simply done is add a very simple transition where I've just cut the production out to give the production a break, and then we go into the key change. And every other thing I've done there, again, we add a little break again. Because I feel like Christmas songs with a key change just sound even better. And it's so easy to do. All you got to do is select everything you want, and then you hit Alt-Shift, and it transposes everything up and down. Make sure you do not transpose the drums though, or any sort of percussion, because that won't work. But anything else, transpose it up. Really fun, simple way to get a key change in there as well. But yeah guys, again, all the plugins I've used in this video will be listed in the comment section and the description below, so you can get hold of them for yourself. But I hope you found this video helpful. Keep making music, and I'll see you in the next video.